I am wasting precious time in my 40s or 30s or whatever when I probably need to find another partner.
Right.
And I'm quick about like, yeah, I don't know. This is not something that either of you is investing in. How about you just chalk it up and you just move on while you're young? Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast. I'm Janelle.
I'm Eddie. How you doing?
Hey.
Hey. What's happening? You have a quick what in the world? Like quick fashion in a hurry?
I do, but it's kind of about the episode that we're talking about today, and I would need some time to find it.
Okay.
But do you have one?
I did. So what was I?
Oh, I do.
Go ahead.
I have one. So it's kind of silly, but there's a post that went viral that I saw on Instagram. And basically, it's an invitation to a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, we're so overjoyed and excited to extend a heartfelt invitation for you to join us on our special day as we celebrate our love and union, commitment, blah, 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 blah. In lieu of traditional wedding gifts, we kindly request that you contribute towards the cost of our reception. This will allow us to share a wonderful meal together and create lasting memories and, celebrate our love, blah, 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 blah. The cost per adult is $40, and for children under 12, it's $20. To facilitate the planning process, we kindly ask that you include your contribution when you RSVP. This will help us, blah, 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 with numbers. Please note that your payment can be made by transferring it directly to our bank account listed below. And so the question is this tacky or is this practical?
Yeah, it is completely tacky.
Okay, so there's 7,913 responses to this.
Right. So basically you're inviting people to basically pay for their dinner and their children.
Hey, y'all want to come to our wedding?
Yeah,
it's going to be
$40.
And so, a couple of things. I go to vote because there's this thing on Instagram where you can post something, but then you ask for a vote, right? And so the two things that you can vote, it's tacky or, hey, this is a cool thing, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, tacky.
Right. 100%.
Okay. Then I realized that the bulk of the people in the comments are voting like, this is kind of cool. Like we want to basically like disrupt the norm and be more practical.
You could call it that.
You could call it that.
Right.
And so then people are like, well, then you get serious people. Like, you want to come join our celebration, you got to pay to play.
You know what? Then if I'm doing that, then I got expectations.
Okay.
Okay. If I'm going to your wedding and I have to pay my way.
It says it's $40 per person, which includes the dinner buffet. So you trying to do a buffet and you want me to pay $40.
And I'm supposed to give you a wedding gift?
So it's a yes and. No. So it says in lieu of wedding gifts.
We just pay for the...
Right.
Right.
So it's like you have to really have a conversation about, is this something we want to go to? Like, because we would bring a wedding gift. You and I are going to 3 weddings this year, right? Big, important weddings. And we're bringing a wedding gift.
Right.
And if they said, don't worry about a gift, just bring $40 a person, or actually transfer it to our bank account ahead of time,
so we could pay for this thing.
So technically you wind up saving.
Right.
And that's what the responses are in the comments. Technically it's a bargain.
Right. Oh, God, but it's just
how does it feel, right?
It feels like I'm paying for dinner.
Well, you are.
Right. Oh,
that is exactly what you're paying for.
100%.
And your expectations out the window,
right?
Because it's just.
But when I go somewhere and I pay for dinner, I choose what I want to eat.
Yeah, bro, this is not a Michelin 5-star restaurant.
So basically, I pay and it is a blind like menu. I don't know what I'm actually getting.
Right. It's a buffet.
Right. No.
But we wouldn't not go.
We wouldn't go, but I do think
but it would be a topic on the podcast.
100%. I'd be like, okay, so we have to pay our way for this wedding, and we didn't get to choose anything. So, like, I just find it really odd.
Think
like,
about how petty you're being, though.
Me?
Well, yeah, because like, hey, you guys were gonna show up. If we go to a wedding, we're gonna bring a solid gift, right? Like we usually give money because we know when we got married, we were
broke.
But
let's just say you're inviting people who are just not in the place to do that.
But wait, hear me out. Like, you're coming to a wedding, you would normally bring a gift, right? There are some shady people who are just like, hey, I can't afford to bring a gift. Okay, well, you can afford to come celebrate our love and eat our food, right? Mm-hmm. So they're saying, keep your gift. Don't worry about showering us with gifts. We want you to be present, but we also want you to pay for it.
Right.
And so technically for us, it'd be a bargain. It'd cost us $80 to go to a wedding, no gift. The issue with me is I would feel still compelled and obligated to bring a gift because I would know that you're asking me to pay for my food. So things are kind of tough.
Was this optional? Did I miss that part?
What do you mean optional?
Is it if I go and I say
every time you get a wedding invitation, honey, it's optional?
Oh, I know it's optional, but I'm saying is it optional for me to do I have to pay? Like if I say I don't have $40, I actually wasn't going to give you a gift at all. I was just going.
Well, then your broke ass can stay home.
But I was thinking, okay,
it's not an option. It's like this is on their wedding invitation.
Gifts mandatory at a wedding?
Okay. Yes.
I would say that
you're missing the point.
No. Here's my point. Let me hear me out. I'm thinking the majority of people that go to weddings do not bring a gift. They bring a card and wishing them well.
I think they bring a card with money, though. I don't think they bring gifts. And also now it's like, here's our registry. It's online.
What's the average gift amount?
I mean, I bought a really expensive gift for my cousin the other day,
but
it gets shipped, and it was like, would you like us to notify her now? No, her wedding's not for a month and a half. Like,
I'm thinking the average gift size is $60
for a wedding gift.
I'm thinking it is.
I think it depends on the crowd.
Well, all right. Well, I think we
need to take a poll. What's a customary budget for you to give to a newlywed couple?
Most people are going to say $100 or more.
Well, I think that your gift should definitely cover. This is an unlock for me. I look at it as weddings are expensive. We know this. Whatever your gift is, the contribution, the gift should basically cover whatever it is that it costs to have you there, and then some. That's my kind of customary rule.
Okay.
So you have a backyard boogie as a wedding, I'm gonna give you $100. Like. If you have a really nice, 5-star wedding and it's like sit down kind of, I know it's a formal attire, like type of thing. It's an expensive wedding. You're paying a lot to have us here to celebrate your special day. I think it warrants more money.
Yeah.
But now that I say it out loud, it should be the opposite. Like if you're having a backyard boogie for your wedding, you need the money, right?
Yeah.
Like we had a baller on a budget wedding.
So speaking of money, and we'll get to the episode, but my what in the world is this? So this guy takes $10,000 out of his bank account and basically follows some young lady on OnlyFans.
Okay.
And goes and uses that $10,000, and that is the cost to meet her. Right? So he says, hey, I'm going to give $10,000 to meet her. In this meeting, he gets a hug, right? And it was posted on Twitter because...
Is she a porn star? Is she...
I don't know. So,
because there's people on... What is it? OnlyFans? There's people on OnlyFans that have like foot fetishes, whatever. But if she's like... I was going to say Jenna Jameson, but she's old. We were talking about her. But if you're a porn star...
I'm assuming that she's on OnlyFans either...
But is she a teacher?
She's doing something sexual, I'm assuming. Okay. Right?
Mm-hmm. You know what happens when you assume, but okay.
Right. But I'm assuming. And so I was just like, this is crazy. So he posts, he posts, hey, I got $10,000 for a hug. And then she
was
posts.
Disappointed.
Right. No, I don't know what if he was disappointed or not.
I needed the details. This story has holes in it. So was it, hey, $10,000 and I'll go on a date with you? Was it?
No, it's $10,000 for a meet and greet.
Oh, a meet and greet.
Right.
Okay.
So I'll give you $10,000.
Hey, homie.
What's up?
Thanks.
Nice to meet you. Here's $10,000. Nice to meet you. I follow you on OnlyFans. I love your page. I love the work that you're doing. Okay. I think you're really talented. Whatever that conversation looks like.
Perfect.
He gets a hug and it's done.
Okay.
Right? So then she proceeds to post that she's with her actual boyfriend using the $10,000 to go on vacation.
So the sucker.
So the thing that was the most funny, which is always is the comments. So first comment I read is, bro could have used that $10,000, got a personal trainer, got his life together, and could have
probably got a better woman.
But
I,
I thought it was just an odd thing. I was just like, why would you want to meet someone like, okay, you like porn, whatever.
mm-hmm.
But are you really thinking I will spend anything just to meet this porn star?
But meat, that's what I'm saying. Like if I'm forking over $10,000, I want to know exactly what I'm getting.
Right, you're getting a hug and a hello, and
Okay, well,
I'm gonna break
I
down.
want a little something else
Well, you're
for 10
talking about
grand.
something that's illegal in the state of
Oh,
California. So,
oops.
but
I mean, there's a way to word it, isn't there?
uh, uh,
Snuggles and cuddles. Like
yeah.
I want to at least snuggle and cuddle if I'm giving you 10 grand.
So, speaking of snuggle and cuddles,
Okay.
this episode is about.
Is it about snuggles and cuddles?
No, it's what is this episode about? You want to tell the people?
Well, I will, but speaking of snuggles and cuddles, I just have one more thing. It'll kick it off. What is it? I need you to talk for a second so I can find it. Oh, here, I found it. Okay. So it says, among married couples, what percentage of married couples have oral sex at least monthly?
At least monthly.
Okay, so here are your it's a multiple choice. Okay?
Okay.
A is 53%, B 65%, C 79%, D 84%. So is your answer lower or higher? Of married couples, what percentage have oral sex at least once a month?
Less than
Less than 53%?
Yeah.
So you think it's the lower amount?
Right.
It's actually 84%, which is the highest amount.
So 84% of couples have oral sex at least once a month.
Right. In addition, 88% of those married couples use oral sex primarily as foreplay, not even the main event. So the comments are like, who are these people? You know, there's no way that like that's that common. Like when you're married, it sucks, blah, 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 blah. And then there's the other side of the comments that are like, well, why would you have sex without oral sex? And I'm kind of in that camp. Like, well, what would you do if you didn't?
How do you
get the party started? I just
right. And
so I chose 84 because I was like, oh,
so you got the answer right.
I did.
Oh,
but I think I went based off of my preference.
Well,
and so people in the comments are saying this is a lie. There's no way people do this.
Right.
And people are like me, like, well, how do you do it without?
That's really great because I was sharing that book with you that I've been reading called Everybody Lies, right? And so this is about big data.
Okay.
And so the author, to give some premise, he basically uses Google and data from like big data from Google searches from different various websites to actually find out how people actually behave. Because based on his research, surveys like that, people lie. They don't tell the truth. Case in point, people talk about how many times they have sex, or the amount of sex they have in a given time, whether it be a month. And basically, he says that most people are lying. First of all, because of like what they search. So people search like, why isn't my husband having sex with me? Why is my wife, not attracted to me, right? And so that's give some evidence or some data that maybe people are not having as much sex as possible. Then people lie about how much protective sex they're having, because the amount of protective sex that are being surveyed, the amount of people based on the algorithm and the math that he did, we don't even sell that many condoms. And so like he finds that most Americans lie on surveys when they're being surveyed, and they try to so his whole research is on big data. And so I will tell you that's probably not accurate, and people probably exaggerate a little bit for whatever reason to make themselves feel better. I don't know, but that was interesting.
Well, that's disheartening. You told me some other like facts from that book about like how people are lying about like what they're Googling and stuff. And
well, they just like what things that people Google kind of tell you an interesting story about
the truth.
Right? Like what women search versus what men search when it comes to sex, and when it comes to
what are some of your findings? Because this episode's about relationships, and I don't know, sex is a part of relationships. So
right. So obviously, overwhelmingly, men search, basically they search, which is interesting, about the size of their penis, right?
So it's not women searching the size, it's men.
It's men. Women overwhelmingly search about the scent or the odor of their vagina, which is really interesting. So if you ever want to read this book, it's called Everybody Lies. And he breaks down, it's not just about sex, but it's about, politics, race, everything.
Everything that's
But
a
he
lie.
uses big data to kind of, prove out his thesis that people don't tell the truth. And what actually do they tell the truth is what they search for privately.
So he's getting the data from Google.
He's getting the data from Google, but he also gets it from other websites as well. And so they say, hey, like, what are people searching? And so he compiles all that information, and then he basically cross-references it from like surveys that have been done, and finds that it's not very accurate.
So men are sitting there with their rulers measuring their stuff, and women are like,
right.
Why?
How do I make my vagina smell better? Right. How do I make it taste better? That's another thing that people search. Like, it's really interesting, right?
To know like what the truth is.
Right. And I won't give up the book, but I won't give up any more things, but he does also go to like sites, like porn sites, and see what women search for versus what men, and that
I
is
didn't believe
astounding.
what you told me. I was like,
right.
I don't think so.
But this is the data, right? Because the reason why you don't believe it is because no one would actually say it out loud. Right. So human beings are very different. They're very interesting. Like, they say one thing, but they believe something different. So the ultimate premise was, like, it started because he was looking and analyzing it from a political standpoint. How did Trump get elected when so many people surveyed said that they would never vote for him? And so the data said something totally different. Right. So people, for whatever reason, when they're filling out a survey, even when it's anonymous, there is a social pressure to answer in a way that's more probably favorable or more in line to what the crowd believes.
Bunch of damn liars.
Right, 100%.
That's awful. Well, this episode is it's brought to you by us, but the reason we're talking about like relationships and partnerships is because we have lots of weddings that we're attending this year. We've got a lot of friends who are either going through relationship issues, single friends who are dating over 40. And so I'm trying really hard to get some relationship experts and like matchmakers on the show to give us some insight on how to score like a soulmate, right?
Right.
And so I consumed quite a few like podcasts and YouTube videos this week, and there's just some interesting things that we thought that would be kind of cool to share. But as a joke, like yesterday I was out to dinner with some girlfriends, and one of them's single, one of them's married, and we were just talking about like dating in 2024. Like, I have this one friend that always is like, oh my God, it's so scary. I don't want to be on dating apps. There's crazy people on there. Well, me owning the bakery for so long, I would say 85% of the couples that I made wedding cakes for were getting married and they found each other online dating sites, right? And so we have a different perspective of like, the world and dating. And so she always dismisses my opinion though, because I've been married for 20 years. And so she's like, yeah, well, you don't count. And I was like, okay, well.
You don't know nothing because you've been
But here's the thing. If heaven forbid I lost my husband and I had to figure out how to date in 2024, I would be on an online dating site. And because I think, how else do you meet people these days? Especially me, like I work from home. I'm an entrepreneur. Like and then the work that I do is mostly with women. And so I wouldn't meet men, right? And so I think you'd have to be online. And so we're talking about, but how do you weed through like the serial killers, this and that? And I was like, oh, you have an interview process. And like I said it so nonchalantly. And she was like, what do you mean you can't interview? I was like, yes, you can. Have you not ever been to a job interview and they do situational interview questions? Tell me about a time when blah, 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 right? You're asking questions based on what characteristic or trait you want to uncover from that person. If they fall short on the story, then they don't have experience in that. And then that's a hard pass on employment.
Right.
That would be a hard pass on partnership. Right. And so we're laughing about it. And I was like, no, legit. Like there are certain things that are non-negotiables for me. And I would 100% like be crafting interview questions to figure out how to uncover if someone is a good fit for me. Am I crazy?
No, I mean, I think It's interesting because we, on the heels of the last couple episodes, and we were talking about hormones and how those impact your relationships. I think getting to know how people would handle certain things early on is important. The key is that they got to tell the truth.
Right.
And then
according to your data, people don't tell the truth.
People don't tell the truth. So the reason why I think, which is interesting what you're talking about, is because if you're asking a situational question,
right.
now they got to tell you about a past experience.
Right. So she said to me when I said I would do an interview process, right? And I would expect any reasonable man who is like aligned with my values, growth mindset, all of this stuff, I would expect that he wants to know who the hell I am too.
Right.
My issue is you send your representative on
Correct.
a date.
You do.
So if I ask you, do you believe in God? Do you have a deep spiritual connection? Whatever. Oh, sure. Okay. Lies.
Right.
So my interview technique is more situational based.
So
tell me about a time when.
So what you're saying is, if the lady that just released her "Who the F Did I Marry" episodes would have used her question, she probably would have picked up on some holes in his story.
Yeah. So So wait, can you just tell everyone kind of what that is?
Yeah, so if you haven't heard or seen, and I'm pretty sure you have because the lady's gone viral. This lady, I don't remember her name, but
I don't know her name.
But she released these like 45 episodes.
I think it's 50 episodes of 10-minute.
Yeah, Who the Fuck Did I Marry is the name of the title
on TikTok.
On TikTok, and she runs through like this entire story of being with this narcissistic man who lied about everything. And I haven't listened to the whole thing, but
you have employees telling
you
about
people
work.
have been telling me about it, and then I've seen other like posts that people have of them watching the video, right, and like how enthralled they are, and everything that comes along with that. Which is a really interesting thing that
she got a like movie deal or a series.
Is that a
deal.
rumor? Or is that real?
No, it's real.
That's crazy.
And so people are like, "Girl, who cares? Like all this drama you're putting out there, like it. I'm sorry you went through that, but it's also really great because now you're about to be paid." And so I was like, "Well, if he's a true narcissist, he wants recognition for this.
Yeah, he will reveal himself soon.
He is going to, mark my words." And so, it's an interesting thing, though. I wouldn't normally listen to something like that, but my friend Muna, who we golfed with on Saturday, was like, "You don't know? It's viral. Oh my God, it's like a series. You got to hear it. It's ridiculous." And I'm more like, I'm more interested with the comments. Right. And so like I did see a couple responses like, "Okay, girl, this is a crazy story, but it's not more crazy than mine. The issue is you shared it, put yourself out there, wanted to be open to criticism, and I was too ashamed. Right. So I only told my stupid friends who made me feel even more dumb. And now I've got PTSD, I'm broke and lonely." And so there are more women, I think, saying, "Oh, well, my stuff is way worse than this," but she was brave enough to put herself out there. Right, right. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So, shout out to her. But I want to share the 11 things. Like I did some research and like after listening to all these podcasts and stuff. So some of the world's most, respected relationship experts, matchmakers, things like that, they have 11 traits that they think are like foundational principles for long-term partnership success. And I think I added one more. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. So number 1's communication, obviously open and honest dialogue. Number 2 is respect, particularly like mutual respect, right? Valuing each other's opinions, boundaries, blah, 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 blah. Number 3, trust and honesty. We don't have to elaborate. Number 4, are you drinking alcohol? Is that an alcoholic beverage?
That's water.
This is not Drink Champs.
No, it's water. What? Like Drink Champs with Noriega?
Did you just change this podcast?
No, yeah. Hey.
Where is my drink?
You didn't order one.
Okay. Number 4 is compromise, finding common ground. Right. Number 5 is quality time, so prioritizing each other. Number 6 is independence, maintaining your own individuality, which I think is super important. 7 is conflict resolution, so healthy conflict management, because no relationship's going to be problem free. Number 8 is emotional support. 9 is intimacy and affection, so maintaining physical and emotional intimacy. 10 is growth mindset. Growing together is ideal.
Right.
And 11 is shared values and goals aligning like with core values.
And I would add 12 is sex compatibility. And I know that it says is intimacy and affection, but I also think that you can have intimacy and affection without sex. But
Okay.
I think you have to.
So I have a question about that.
Okay.
But before I ask the question, and the question, in case I forget it, is how do you know if there's sexual compatibility until you do it?
You got to
right?
run tryouts.
Okay. Then going back to the smelly vaginas, which you said women are Googling.
Uh-huh.
I saw this thing years ago and I had shared it with you where this doctor was saying that there are certain chemicals from a man and a woman that just do not mix. And she said, you'll know because it will create an odor. And oftentimes you'll get some sort of infection.
Oh.
And I was like, wait, what? She said there are literal vaginas and penises that are not compatible. Like your fluids don't mix. And so it will create a bunch of discomfort for the woman.
Wow.
That freaked me out. I was like, oh, you're so lucky. We're supposed to be together.
Wait, so you could go through all 11 of these and then
it's your chemicals
you're like,
don't mix.
we're perfect, but we don't.
But you added it. You said sexual compatibility.
Right,
that would be
100%.
it. So if it's smelly down there after.
Like, hey, our sex creates a toxic chemical that
it's a toxic cocktail and I just can't do this for the rest of my life.
That is wild.
But it'd be even more wild if the sex was really great.
And then you just said, hey, I just,
chemicals
what did that conversation sound like?
I mean, maybe you find.
I went to my doctor and
solutions.
My doctor said that, we're not compatible.
We can't mix fluids. Then do you, like, if he checks all the other boxes, do you like, okay,
you said
we'll use a condom for the rest of our lives?
Put him in the friend zone.
No. Could you do that? Like have sex with your wife every single time and use a condom?
No.
Okay, so you didn't even lie about that because Google says that people say that they practice safe sex, but they actually don't.
Wait, no, and you said my wife. I'm not going to practice. I mean, I would.
You don't want to practice safe sex with your wife?
But based on your question, no, I don't want to practice safe sex with my wife. I want to practice like real sex with my wife, and not like.
It's not fake sex if you use a condom.
I mean, to some people it is.
To you?
No, I mean. I watched someone that said it was some clip. Someone said, if you're wearing it's not real. I'm like, it is real.
If you're wearing a condom,
right? It says
you just said it's not. I don't want to have fake sex.
I know. I was being funny.
Oh,
right, but
now we're serious. I don't know. So you're adding number 12. Well, here's what I did. I turned all of those traits though. Like if you're looking for someone who, let's start with the first one. You're looking for communication, right? You want a person. If you ask them on a date, I met you on Tinder or whatever they're called. And I want to know, are you a good communicator? If I ask you, are you a good communicator? You say, oh yeah, I love communicating.
I love talking. Talking is my favorite thing.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't ask you that. I would ask it in a situational interview format. So I'd say, can you tell me about a time that you had to discuss a difficult topic with someone you cared about? How did it go? How did you approach the conversation? And what was the outcome?
So that's a great, I love that question. That's how I'd answer. Oh, that's a great question.
Right.
And I,
mm-hmm.
But so really quickly, what are you looking for in that answer?
I'm looking to see, like, how did you approach the conflict?
I know, but what
was the situation? Like,
right.
Were you married? Were you like in a long-term committed relationship? What was the outcome? I'm looking to see if there was resolution on your part.
Right. But also like what qualities are you looking for? So for example, like if you say, okay, tell me about a time when you had to discuss something difficult. Like, did you acknowledge, did you say, hey, one of the things I tried to do is I really tried to make sure I acknowledge that, hey, this is going to be a tough conversation, or I went straight in. I believed to be transparent and just brutally honest. And so I was just like, you need to stop doing this.
The way that you're using your body and the way that you're talking to me right now, you're far too aggressive. You need to chill out on the testosterone.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think you have to have a criteria in which you say, I'm listening for these things. Because
Yeah. I'm listening for solid communication. What was your tactic?
Right.
Was it resolved in a friendly way, in a
Right.
respectful way? So, like, respect. Describe a situation where you disagreed with someone close to you or someone you were in a relationship with. How did you handle the disagreement while maintaining, or I wouldn't even say while maintaining respect for their perspective?
Right.
I would be looking for, was he respectful? And did he value her perspective? Or did you say, hey, listen, sometimes you're just wrong?
Right. But some people are not good interviewers.
They're not.
And some people are not
But
good
then I would know that you might not.
interviewees, right? So, like, for example, like, if I'm interviewing, if I ask you that question and you say, oh, yeah, I'm all the time in my last relationship, we disagreed on all kinds of things, but we kept it real respectful. Like, I never called her out on her name. I never said anything. Like, I always make sure that through the conversation, she felt heard. Okay, great.
Yeah, I have follow-up questions for all of these.
Okay,
honey.
what is it about?
I'm the point is, it was a funny thing,
Right.
where I was saying I would be interviewing candidates, right? Just as if you are a top quality man, I would be expecting that I'm on interview too.
Right.
And so I think I could make it fun and be like, it's a fun date, but let's be real. Like, we don't need to waste all this time getting to know each other like the hard way, going to 10 different dinners to see if we're actually compatible. Let me just ask you some questions. I'll answer them based on,
Right.
like, let's just be honest. I think I would be initiating honesty from the beginning.
Now, would you be reading these questions off off your phone? Like,
I mean, if you felt comfortable with it.
I have a few questions I would like to go over with you real
Right.
quickly.
And put my glasses on and kind of drop down a scroll.
All right.
And obviously it's a joke, but I do think that if you kind of massaged and finessed the questions, these are a better way to uncover, like, if someone values compromise. Like,
Right.
I want to be seen and heard in a relationship. So, like, are you the kind of person that works like through compromises? Are you, and I might even share stories like, so I have this friend that blah, 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 blah. What do you think they should do in that situation? Like, I would just be so slick with it.
Yeah. That's, I think, really good, because
I have a friend that's arguing right now with her husband. They've been not speaking for 8 days.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
And if they say,
if he says, I mean, sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Red flag. I'm out. I won't be the one posting who the fuck did I marry videos. Like,
Right.
Red flag if you're just like, off-putting.
Right.
So I would probably slide a lot of that in.
So you're saying, like, these questions should cut through the representative, because the representative is superficial,
That's what
and
you gotta
these
do.
questions are
through.
like deeper. They're gonna make, and like, you have follow-up questions, and like you say, okay, well, if you think that they should not talk, like, how do you feel like they're gonna resolve the issue?
Right.
And he's like, well, they'll just forget, and then they'll just start loving each other on the 10th day.
Another way to do it that could be fun, if you remember when we used to watch This Is Us.
Yeah.
And Randall and his wife used to be like, okay, we're going to play the game real quick. And they would play out this whole worst case scenario.
Right.
And then it'd have to be like, but what do we do? And so I would maybe start that in a date. Every guy that I dated, I'd be like, so I like to play this little game. And he'd be like, okay, she's weird, whatever. But there's situational questions, like hypothetical. If this were to happen, what would you do? Go.
Right.
It could be a fun date.
Right? I think so too. I think it allows you to get someone, at some point you get to see the real person.
Yeah.
And I think that if you get to the real person, then you can find out, are you truly compatible?
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, like, relationships either succeed or fail based on how people handle the obstacles.
Yeah.
Right. And if they can handle the obstacles in a way that embodies all of these things, then I think you're going to be in a good place. But if you are not a good communicator and your answer to communication is shouting, yelling, or silence, usually you're going to find that this relationship is not going to be very healthy.
Yeah. Shouting, yelling, silence. I'm just not down for that.
Right. Or disrespect. Right. And I think that one of the core principles we've always had is that, we never want to say anything that we have to apologize to because we never call each other out of our names. We never insult each other. We never call, all those things. we see alive and well in a lot of relationships.
Yeah. And we did that because we both had relationships where we were like, okay, what did you not like in previous relationships? We kind of did an interview process. What did you not like from your previous relationships that you do not want to bring into this one?
Right.
And we both said any form of disrespect.
Right.
I feel like you can't apologize your way out of, feeling some type of way about someone. Like if you say something to me that expresses your lack of control that you have to apologize for, it's unforgivable to me.
And I don't understand the concept of intentional harm in a relationship where it's supposed to be loving.
But that's the point, though. Everyone says, I did it out of anger, I didn't mean it. Well, okay, then that demonstrates a huge lack of personal accountability and control. Right. And the only thing in life that you can control, you can't control me. Right. You can't control what I say, how I respond, how I make you feel, none of that stuff. But you can control your response.
100%.
If you cannot control your own response, then you have a lack of control, lack of self-control. I don't want to be with someone like that.
And let's
you
just
can't be apologizing for hurting my feelings.
But I don't think everyone has a lack of self-control in those situations. I think that people have control. They just decide to
not exercise it.
No, they decide to weaponize the words because you hurt me for whatever reason, whether it be intentional or non-intentional. So I need to find a way to strike back.
Oh, and yeah, a revenge.
Right. And so it's vengeful communication where you say something that is going to trigger the other person simply because you felt hurt or your ego is bruised. And so I don't know, like some people, yes, you're right.
But I think if you surveyed people and if people were guilty of saying out of pocket shit to a partner, which I have said, you maybe have said, I don't know. I've said it when I was pushed way too far.
Right.
And I've said it when I knew I wanted the relationship to be over and I was trying to be hurtful because that was the tactic being used with me.
Right.
And, like when I said things that were hurtful, I knew I didn't want this anymore.
Right.
And so you're saying it to be mean and spiteful. And I'm drawing a line in the sand saying, I will never forgive you for this. So I may as well fucking destroy this too.
Right.
And so, but I think when people do that, they do it thinking not in the moment that they think they can apologize their way out of it later. I'm sorry, I got angry. I said things I didn't mean. I feel like you can't take it back. There's no givesy backsies. Nope.
Well, I think you can. The thing is you can take back what you said, but you can't take back what you were your intentions.
And you can't take back how it made me feel.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Your intentions were
to hurt me.
To hurt you. Right. And so I don't want to hurt you. Mm-hmm. If we're in a conflict, I'm trying to resolve the conflict. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get through it in a way that preserves our self-respect, preserves our respect for one another. But I think that gets lost with a lot of folks. And then on the adverse of that, I think on the opposite end of that, you get no words. Mm-hmm. And so people just go into silence because they think that is the way to just resolve it. Because we can't use our words, we just will say nothing. Mm-hmm. But that says more.
Yeah, I think so.
To me, because it says that I'm not valuing our communication. And I saw this post the other day that said, like, people take for granted that you're not going to be with your spouse forever. Like they will leave this earth. Mm-hmm. And the one thing you will always regret is the moments that you did not connect, especially when like the person is taken suddenly or whatever the case may be. No one says, I'm so glad we had so many arguments. I'm so glad we gave each other the silent treatment for the last 2 weeks. I'm so glad. Like, you're not going to have that.
No, but I think playing devil's advocate, which I don't think is a solid way to communicate, but playing devil's advocate, I feel like if you're in a space where you're practicing avoidance and you're just not talking to each other for 2 weeks, I think that person in that would say, well, yeah, it's pretty fucked up right now, which is why if, my mom said, if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything. Anything nice to say, don't say it. Okay, well, I'm not saying anything because I'm not ready.
Right.
And so you just said, don't disrespect you. Well, I have nothing to say then because I'm angry and I need some time to get over it. So you take your 2 weeks. I think the point is if that marriage or relationship continues to stay a partnership, at the end of their life, they're not going to be like, God, I really regret not talking to you for those 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to look back at that.
No, but you would look back at you will look back at your relationships, and if this is a pattern, right? Let's just say, 3, 4, 5 times a year, you go a week, 2 weeks without speaking. That's a significant amount of time. That's like a month of not talking, right? Like if you really think about it, and if you do that every single year, and you're married for 20 years, like. Yeah. You add up, you've went a whole year without speaking at one point.
But the only way you would regret that is if at some point you got better and you loved each other. And then now when he died unexpectedly, you're like, God, we lost so much time together.
Right. Because you have this self-realization. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is.
But if he died and he was still a dick, you'd be like, oh, well.
But I think for those who are listening, let's just say you practice that. Mm-hmm. My thought process is this. We can all agree the fact is we have no clue if we're going to die tomorrow. Right. Not a single clue. You have no idea. Mm-hmm. We operate with a certain level of confidence and belief that tomorrow is somewhat promised, even though it's not. Mm-hmm. And so we behave that way in a lot of cases, which is natural. We do a lot of things in life that we behave as if tomorrow is promised, and that's okay, fine. But I think when you are in a relationship and you, like today, for example, we spent the entire day together. We didn't do anything really. Mm-hmm. We just went to breakfast.
But we never stopped talking.
We laughed. We joked. We sat in the hallway. We talked about future. But we kept like I sat back and I was like, I really appreciate this today because I was like, I just hung out with my wife and we just enjoyed each other's company. Right. But you miss moments when you can actually get back to that, and you don't get a lot of those moments. And so I think that if you would regret it if you said, the day my husband died was during a point we weren't talking. Yeah. There are so many people right now that are probably listening or lived a life, and that is their story. Yeah. Like they died and we were in the middle of an argument.
Well, I know a friend that practices this type of communication with her husband. Yeah. But one in particular where I don't know that their marriage is actually going to work anyways. Like they're both like, nah, I don't know. And so they're practicing avoidance more because it's like, okay, well, it costs money to get a divorce. It's expensive. What happens to the kids? Like, so you're already at the point where you're like, okay, I don't even know how it's going to work anyways. So then it becomes we don't have anything to say. So we just kind of go through the motions and you've pissed me off. So right. I really have nothing to say to you. So these are not the same relationships, though. Like you're saying, I enjoy talking to you, but it's a different type of relationship.
But then at the same time, then you're also wasting time.
Well, I think that's what it is.
Right.
Well, I am wasting precious time in my 40s or 30s or whatever when I probably need to find another partner.
Right.
And I'm quick about like, yeah, I don't know. This is not something that either of you is investing in. How about you just chalk it up and you just move on while you're young? Right. Like honestly, because
you're gonna want that time back.
Yeah.
Like I was watching the documentary of Bill Gates and they were talking about the fact obviously he's got $50 billion in net worth, right? It's a crazy amount of money. And so they said, like, money's not an issue for him. Money's not something he even thinks about. Mm-hmm. The thing that he thinks about is the thing he can't get more of, and that's time.
Yeah.
Right? And so at the end of the day, as we all get older, like, we start to look back and we say, God, I wasted so much time. Right. Or I want more time, and how do I get more time? But you can't buy it.
Yeah.
There's no reserve somewhere. And so I think that to me is a big deal in a relationship, whether that relationship should end or that relationship is trying to continue. Time is the over under. It's the thing that is the most important to the relationship, because all we can think about is that we just want more time with each other, right?
I literally was talking to my girlfriends last night about like, we're in this place where we're empty nesters now. We're having so much fun together. And I'm at a point with you in our relationship where like now more than ever, I feel like we're closer than we've ever been. Everything's better than it's ever been. Our communication, like our love life, everything. And like the thought of not having you, if something were to happen to you, like I started crying. I was like, right. I don't want to lose him now more than I've ever not wanted to lose him, because we've never been this good.
Right.
And that makes me emotional, right? Like there were times I never wanted you to die,
right.
But there were times,
I didn't want you to die, but it'd been okay if you died.
I mean, in the beginning of our marriage, when it was like, it's kind of rocky. This is hard shit. I mean,
I would have got like a week of mourning, but I didn't think it was going to work.
Wasn't that great anyways? And then I'm on a dating app, right? But now, like, the thought of losing you, I have more to lose because you're my best friend.
You're mine too.
Well,
so I think, but that may be why we have this perspective. But I also think that if we weren't in a good place, then we would be thinking about, we're in our 40s. Do we want to waste time, or do we feel like we could find happiness?
I don't want to waste time.
No, right. And so I think so many people operate as if they're, going to live forever.
Well, also, like, if you didn't listen to the previous 2 episodes, we talked about what happens to women as we age. Like, you could have a broken vagina. Then, like, I'm wasting my 40s in a shitty relationship when I've only got a little bit more time to be having sex, protected or not. And same with a man. Like, okay, well, you got a couple more years in you before your testosterone's gone and you be popping Viagra to go on these dates, right? So I don't know. I think that we need some relationship experts and some like therapists to come and help us walk through some hypothetical situational challenges that couples go through.
Right.
And I don't know, relationships are hard. They can be very challenging, but as cliche as it is, I think communication is the biggest thing.
Right. I was just going to ask you that. Like, if you had to name out of the 12 things we talked about, which one is like the non-starter?
I have so many non-starters.
But like, what's the, like, okay, let's just say the top 3.
Communication and respect.
Communication, respect. What else?
I want a partner.
Okay.
You got to be at my level or higher, but we got to be able to grow together. So personal development and growth.
Okay. So
super important.
Sex is not a part of the top 3.
Yes. Sex is pretty important.
But
that's the thing, though. Like,
3.
You got to sleep with people to figure out if your chemicals match.
I mean, you get, all of these, and you get a micro penis, and you're like,
yeah, I'm not okay with a micro penis.
Well,
I'm just not.
But is that when do you find it out?
It's a deal breaker,
right? Okay, so then what does that sound like? Hey, you checked all the boxes.
That's when ghosting comes in handy. I wouldn't have to say anything. And why would I say something that would be hurtful? Like, hey, this doesn't really work for me. I don't have to give you a dissertation. Like, it's not an exit interview.
And it's not like a secret to the person either. They know.
You would know if things were great.
And then
we had intercourse and it just didn't do it for me. You would know because you're the one with micro penis.
Right.
And then if I just don't call you, you would know why.
Yeah.
And that would break my heart because I would know that he would know why.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Is it hard to be a guy?
Hard to be a guy?
Is it hard? Like, if not, is it hard to be a guy if you're already insecure about that? I would think that it is.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be something that at some point is going to be
a problem.
Yeah, and so I think that at some point during your questions, you got to ask it before it gets too deep.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. I mean, at some point, and for some women, it may not be a big deal. I mean, size is always a question that gets thrown around. Like,
it gets thrown around by women.
And I always see that, like, it's like 50-50. It matters, it doesn't matter. It matters, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I kind of feel like it does matter.
It matters.
Yeah. Well,
Who are these people that are saying it doesn't matter?
I mean, I'm just saying the they over the course of time.
Who's this invisible they?
In the social, like all the social media, and like you see the comments, and people say it doesn't.
I'm gonna take a poll.
Okay.
Does size matter?
And then people lie. They say,
they will lie.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And then the reality is it really does.
Well, they'd say the people that say it doesn't. That's probably because they have a healthy relationship with a man that's got a small penis.
Right. And so that's
good.
Would you say, hey, out of these 11 things, I'm willing to be lenient if sex is really great?
No, because that's toxic. That's toxic. Like, I'm okay with the occasional disrespect, but hey, the D is good. You cannot.
But I don't think everyone thinks
do.
like that. I don't think everyone thinks like that.
I think men compromise. She's not the brightest tool in the shed, Well, let me tell you.
I mean, men are shallow, and we
Right.
right.
Or would you compromise on one of those 11? Like, or are you like, hey, you
I
know
think
what? She's not very good at conflict resolution. She's a bit crazy. She yells, she loses her temper.
That's not what I can do.
Is that a non?
Yeah, that's not a starter for me. I can't compromise that. One of the things I could probably say that collectively men would be able to compromise is independence.
God, so shallow.
It's just the reality is like, if she's not that independent, you're like, all right.
And this is her like ability to like balance personal interests and like, take care of herself without a man, financially support, emotional support, whatever. You're saying, I'm okay if she's a bit needy as long as she's a freak in the bed.
I'm not okay with it. I want them all, but I think but I do think collectively, if I were to survey men, honestly,
I agree.
They would probably say that that's the one they can, be a little, because no man wants to be disrespected. Right. I don't think any person wants to be disrespected, but I think from an ego standpoint and testosterone and all those things, disrespect is probably a top no-go. But I also think that there are some men out there that are not great communicators, and so they not value communication that high either.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's this Paul Brunson is like one of the world's top matchmakers, and he said that sex is an important factor of relationships. But he recommended this book by Carol Reif, and she's a psychological well-being expert, and she has this framework. She says there's 6 dimensions of well-being, and Paul basically says that if you follow these 6 dimensions, the best thing you can do to find your dream soulmate partner is to work on you being the asset. And I agree with that 1,000,000%. So he's like, if you are looking for love and you want to find the perfect partner, the best thing you can do is work on these 6 things yourself.
Can I just say, I think that as we got better ourselves, 100%. Our relationship got up. So I even think that people that are already in relationships, if you looked at yourself as an asset and say, hey, I want to improve what I offer, then I think your relationship improves. 100%.
I think that, do you remember, like, there was a point maybe 8 years in when I had to remind you, like, just so we're clear, I am irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Like, just so we're clear. Like, there is nothing that you can find in a woman that's going to be better than what I bring to the table.
Right.
Like, I literally told you that. I was like, I bring your family together. I love your mom. Like, I'm the reason for the success of our kids. I'm the cook. I do all of these things to make myself irreplaceable. You better fucking work on yourself.
Yeah.
Do you remember? That was hard.
Yeah.
And it was a tough time for us, but I have to say you really pulled through. And I am like, okay, I'm here for it. But that's an important thing I think that people should talk about. Your goal in a relationship, a partnership, a marriage, your goal should be to make yourself irreplaceable.
100%. And I think that if men did away with their ego, and like if I had this crazy outward ego that just, cloaked everything that I did, that conversation wouldn't have went well. Right.
But it was factual.
It was factual. And I think that for me, I looked at it as a challenge to become irreplaceable myself. Right. Or to do things to add value to myself. Can
I tell you one of the things that you did that was like the sexiest and like sealed the deal for me? Like, okay, we're going to work on this then. Because when I brought that to you, you were like, okay, shit. You're right. Like, I'll work on that. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's see if you work on that. Right. We've been married 5 years, whatever. And you stopped watching football, basketball, this and that. And I was like, what happened? Why'd you cancel the DirecTV? You usually watch football for 4 hours. And you said, I realized that I knew more about other players' stats than I did my own stats. And I'm going to work on that. I was like, that's what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. Like, I tell that to a lot of guys who are like super into sports. I'm like, just make sure that you're keeping track of your own stats.
And that was
just like their stats. And that was a game changer for you making yourself like the husband I needed you to be. So thank you.
Yeah. And I tell that to people all the time.
You do?
Oh yeah, I tell people, and it's not just I knew more about LeBron James' stats more than I knew my own. It was also about like I would find escape through playing video games. Instead of finding escape through improvement, right? And not so much escape, but if things are not going well, then I probably need to figure out what it is I need to improve upon and open my mind to different things instead of shutting my mind off and playing video games and not improving. And so yeah,
So make yourself
100%.
an asset.
You got to make yourself an asset.
Yeah.
You got to make yourself valuable.
Why do we not tell that story more? Because people often ask us, like, what do you think the key to like a lasting relationship is? We always say communication, and that's a form of it. But I really think like you should be constantly trying to work to outdo your partner from like not like a competition, because that can be bad for us. We're both fierce competitors, but like make yourself irreplaceable.
Right.
And that is like the thoughtful little things you do. Are you touching your wife's ass when you walk past her? Are you giving her a hug? Are you like, what are you doing? Like, bring something to the table, Right.
And what kind of conversation am I going to be able to have with you if all I do is watch sports?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, do you
it.
care that
I didn't give a shit about your stupid Madden, your freaking I was like pissed.
And here's the thing. And I was doing fantasy football, several leagues, playing video games. Like
I did not like that, Eddie.
Oh yeah, I'm saying all too consuming. And when I look back at it, it's the interesting is when I watch other people, and I know that they're in relationships, and I also know that they're in the thick of relationships when your kids are young, and I see them playing video games and like on their breaks or all these kind of things, and I just go, that's a recipe for disaster. But also, like I think in some cases, their wives or significant others, they don't have an expectation.
Yeah.
And the problem with them not having an expectation is that in your relationship, when you're trying to grow or you're trying to have prosperity and you're trying to have wealth, you're not having like the woman to me is a great motivator to push you, right? Because you're constantly like, I want to be attracted. I want you to be attracted to me.
And I wanted you to make yourself attractive for me.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think we don't take responsibility for that. Like, I want to be someone you're attracted to. Like, this is old school, and we're going to talk about this in the next podcast episode. Like, what is attractive to a man and a woman? Because I think we need honest answers from that. But my grandmother, who's 95, she was married for like 40 years. She's lost her husband in his 70s, went on to have like other boyfriends who she loved. And she's just a great role model. You love her. I love her. But I remember when she was married to my grandfather, she was a housewife. She raised 4 kids, but every single time it'd be like, oh, it's almost 5. He's coming home. She'd go into her room. She'd make herself look presentable, put on heels instead of slippers. And she always took pride in like looking beautiful. Why? Right. I think that some could say, well, that's sexist. That's like, oh God, we've moved past that. Well, I don't want my husband to see me in a messy bun and my yoga pants every day, even though you do. There are certain times where I'm like, I want to put effort into my appearance. I want my body to look appealing. I want you to be attracted to me. And I don't want to be frumpy and someone that you're not sexually attracted to or turned on by. And so I take pride in making sure that I look decent, when you come home. Not so much like my grandma, but like I want to look good, and I think you should look good for me too.
100%. And I think that that investment in your time and your health and in your and how you look physically, I think is so important to the health of the relationship, because it makes me. It tells me that you're not taking me for granted and I'm not taking you for granted.
Last thing, and then we'll end it. But Carol Reif is a psychologist that says if you work on these 6 things, you will be an asset to someone. So one is self-acceptance, right? Having a positive attitude towards oneself, your past, like all of the things, acknowledging like the multiple aspects of you. And I would say reflection too. But the next one's personal growth. Like, do you have a desire to continue to develop yourself and push yourself to your full potential? That's a huge turn on for me.
100%.
The next one is, do you have a purpose in life? You've got to be in pursuit of something, right? People are looking for like multi-dimensional all encompassing people. So you got to have goals, a sense of direction, some sort of meaning or purpose that you are constantly in pursuit of.
I think that probably is one of the most important things.
Meaning, purpose, direction.
Because I think it leads to you wanting to get better in order to achieve your purpose or your mission. And so being a mission-driven person, I think, is probably the most attractive thing a person can do.
Yeah, I agree. Number 4 is environmental mastery. So that involves the capacity to effectively manage and control a complex range of external activities. So do you go to the gym? Do you have like an active lifestyle? Are you great at your job? Can you manage a variety of situations? Do you pay attention to surroundings and opportunities? Like, just, there's a lot of complexity to that, but environmental mastery. Are you winning at the game of life? Is what I would call that. Right.
I think that's good.
The next one's autonomy. So it's characterized by self-determination, independence, and the regulation of behavior from within. That's good, right? Yeah. So autonomously functioning individuals are self-endorsing and able to resist social pressures.
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah, because I think
they evaluate themselves by their own personal standards continuing to be raised.
Yeah.
I'm all here for autonomy.
Because what that says is you have a person that has an internal fire within them to, be their best selves, whatever it may be. And they're not easily swayed by the crowd. Because if you're in a relationship with someone that is constantly like, the crowd follows them, then every time they go out with their friends, they're going to come back as a different person. Every time they go, every time something on social media, they want to like move into that direction.
Now you want a BBL.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden you got this person that like, what is your internal standard? And I think that is so important because if you don't have that, then you have this superficial life that you're living based on the whims of what you see.
Whatever you see.
Yeah.
And the last one, number 6, is positive relationships with others. This is super important to me. How do you treat the server at the restaurant? How do you tip? How do you treat people that are strangers? Like, what is your response when you see a homeless person asking for money? Like, if I was with a guy and he was like, let's say we're in LA, so there's tons of displaced people, but if someone's asking for money and he looks and he's like, get a freaking job, I'm out. I'm out. No way.
Right.
Just, I can't do it.
100%.
Or some off-color comment about something, like, I'm out.
That goes to that whole, that old quote that Oprah used to say. People will tell you who they are. You just have to listen. Or people will show you who they are. You just have to listen. And I think that
when people tell you who they are, listen.
Right. And I think that is a moment where you say, if you treated this person that way, at some point you're going to treat me that way. Right. Or you're going to treat our children that way. And are you going to treat my family that way? And I think that those are signs that you got to say, red flag.
Okay. I had a red flag moment and then we're done.
Okay.
But a boyfriend I had, who he was, he had a little bit of money, was, in real estate, whatever, had a really nice convertible Jaguar. And so we're driving around like I think we were like in Santa Barbara or something. We come to a red light, the top's down, beautiful day. Like I'm thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. Right. And somebody pulls up next to us in like a Mustang convertible. And he makes some comment as the guy's like revving his engine, whatever, let him do it. He's younger than you, whatever. He thinks he's cool. It's probably a rental. Who cares? He goes, please get a real sports car. I was like, red flag, I'm out. Like, that is so tacky. Like, because you have a Jaguar, shut the fuck up. I was so turned off by it. So red flag, glad I'm not with him. I'm glad I'm with you. So that's it. Those are the 6 things that you need to have. But positive, healthy relationships, like, again, how you're treating other people. Do you have warm relationships with people at the gym, with your family? How do you treat your mother? Are you good at empathizing with people? That's like part of, that. What about being affectionate or understanding? And so those are the 6 things I think you got to work on if you want to level up.
Yeah.
So make yourself an asset, ladies and gentlemen. And then do
Love it.
situational interview questions on the dates. We'll see you guys in the next
and
episode.
have tryouts for sex.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you're compatible.
And size matters.
All right. And push through.
Bye.